This AskReddit user asks, what are some very irrational fears that you have, and if you told anyone they would say, wow, that's weird? Being eaten by a large, worm-like animal. It has no teeth, so it can't chew me and kill me in its mouth, so it just slurps me like spaghetti and swallows me whole. I arrive in its dark stomach still alive, and I am digested by its strong stomach acids slowly over the next 5 to 6 days, while other animals it swallowed before me, maddened by pain and hunger, swim around me and take bites out of me in the dark. I'm guessing you didn't enjoy King Kong 2005. Those worm-like things from that movie terrified me. Seeing that guy get bitten over the head and arm haunted me when I first saw the movie. I feel this freaks me out when you see animals eat other animals whole as well. Nightmare fuel. I had an extremely specific fear for about 10 years as a child, young teen. In short, I was afraid that if I didn't perform a specific nightly ritual that I would wake up in the morning to find my brother dead, hanging by his entrails from a tree in our garden. The ritual started normal enough, checking under the bed and in the wardrobe, etc. But then, I would, with my eyes closed and laying flat in bed, whisper a prayer of, "Dear God, please protect me, my friends and family from all evils. Amen," 20 times. Starting again if I lost count or got a word wrong. I would then hold my breath, eyes still closed, for 20 seconds. I have no idea where the HL or why the HL I developed the ritual. And I've never told my brother about it. I think I stopped at 16, but I likely have some details wrong. Edit. I always get people telling me that I have OCD when I tell this story. I don't believe this to be the case. Namely, I have been around doctors and therapists all my life due to a traumatic birth and later mental issues. In that time, I've never had it suggested or considered that I have OCD. I am just unfortunate enough to have inherited conditions which cause a hereditary insanity which my meds manage. OCD could have been missed. But I am going to side with doctors over Reddit on this occasion XD. I was similar when I was a child too. I used to have to rip out my eyelashes before bed and make wishes on them that I wouldn't die in my sleep, and then I would have to pray to the crack on my ceiling shaped like a man that me and my family would all live to be 150 years old. For some reason it would always escalate during the summer holidays to where I couldn't sleep at night and I'd have to sleep during the day when it was light, so that if I stopped breathing in my sleep someone would see and save me. Which of course never happened. Sounds like OCD. This is textbook OCD. An aversion more than a fear perhaps, but belly buttons. I don't know why or when this started, but I can't even write this right now without physically cringing. Sucking in my stomach at the navel. On the fear side, being stabbed there, I randomly think about it sometimes and it interrupts my thoughts for at least the rest of the day. My brother-in-law is an avid fisherman. Loves to fish and spends lots of his time out on the water. He's got a form of ichthyophobia. Fear of fish. He's not terrified of fish if he sees them and catches them. But if he's swimming in the water and sees any sort of fish near him, he loses his mind. He's terrified of the situation of being in water with fish. If I had a fear of something, I too would pick up a hobby of impaling them with hooks. He fishes to remove fish from oceans. Maybe he's afraid of the revenge? Small clusters of things that are or look like they are multiplying, spreading. Like a small group of mushrooms growing on a tree, or bubble algae, or even some rashes. Just the idea of an infestation or cancer, I guess, makes me nauseous and sweat. Edit. Apparently baby skulls have the same effect. I will never look at a baby the same way again. Those teeth are some alien ST. I fear swimming in bodies of water that I know have fish but I can't see them. So murky lakes and rivers are a no-go. But crystal clear lakes and the ocean are fine. Once I can see the fish, I'm fine with swimming. It's not being able to see them that I can't do. I am terrified of deep water. I am a strong swimmer. There is no logical reason for me to be afraid. But my mind says there is a giant ghost shark waiting to drag me down to the bottom of the lake and devour me. You ever played Subnautica? Subnautica is by far the scariest game I've ever played. Subnautica is one of the few games that made me feel genuine fear, curiosity, and awe throughout the majority of my first playthrough. A few other games had moments of that. But I loved how consistently that game gave me those visceral reactions. Every time I drive over a large overpass, I get a moment where I fear it will collapse. I share that fear. My mom laughed at me when we were driving through Dallas. You know what? I watched the news when the bridge collapsed in Minneapolis and had several friends that missed being on it by just a few miles. Don't tell me that driving over bridges isn't scary. Overpasses just have double the people involved. That's actually a legitimate fear. Overpasses and bridges both. One collapsed in Italy last year. Actually, it was two. The most famous one is on the highway near Genova and the other one was smaller near Lecco. Since it happened, I have a similar fear. I have a fear of someone coming through my window and slitting my throat, but they botched it up that I'm still alive and just choking on my blood and that no one in my house can hear me calling for help, so I'd die slow painful death. Actual irrational fear of mine, and yes, that is the response given when I say it. Had AFD up dream of it and now I get paranoid as HL. Horses. I hate them. They're too big and clumsy. They could kill you by simply falling on you. Landmines. I don't like to walk through random yards or field because landmines are scary. There has not been a war in my area for about 150 years. Edit: not in a war zone. Just slightly neurotic. Take back all your upvotes. It does sound quite reasonable though. Dude, I'd be afraid too in they situation. It makes complete sense. Terrified of looking out windows or even really looking at windows at night. I'm afraid I'll see a monster or a set of eyes looking back. It's so bad that I close my eyes when closing open blinds at night or have my wife close them for me. Edit. Lol, damn it guys, stop telling your scary fantasies. I am already terrified of this. Oh man. I have this fear in the worst way. I avoid all windows even if they are on a higher floor. I don't even know what I am afraid of CF. But I know I don't want to find out. Anatidophobia. The fear of somehow a duck watching you. Maybe through the window. This is mine too. I've always been afraid of dark windows. Since I was a kid. I was washing dishes at my boyfriend's house once at a sink with a window above it. The window looked out onto the front porch. I was trying to avoid looking at it, but as I put a dish into the drying rack I saw a FG skeleton in the window, smiling at me with an evil smile. I immediately fell to the floor and started crying. Turns out it was my boyfriend's extremely thin roommate trying to freak me out. Whoops. I have two good ones. Ketchup started out as just an aversion to taste, smell, but now if I see other people eating it or have to hand the bottle to me wife, it makes my skin crawl and I have to wash my hands. Even now I shuddered as I typed this. Another less serious one, anytime one of my teams is playing basketball I have this weird fear or feeling that we're going to commit a backcourt violation. Like, almost possession. Even though this almost never happens and there is no penalty other than a turnover. I breathe a huge sigh of relief every time we cross half court. Can't explain it. I have an awesome boss. Sometimes when we're leaving work and he's walking ahead of me on the sidewalk, I'll worry about him getting hit by a car when he enters the crosswalk. I kind of hold my breath until he makes it to the other side. I don't do this for any of my coworkers. Even the ones I like. Just him. I often wonder what he'd say if I told him this. I have another. I have very weird feelings about veins and arteries. Anywhere there's a major artery or a large cluster of veins I can see on my body, I will never touch intentionally. I have the same icky feeling about veins and things. I hate anything vascular. It all seems very fragile and creepy to be so close to the outside of a body. My nephew has a very prominent neck vein with what looks like a tiny lump in it, and it skeeves me out every time I see him. Hydroelectric dams. Specifically, falling off and somehow being sucked into the intake, scratching feebly at the surface of a moss-covered tunnel as I'm drawn closer and closer to giant whirling blades, in the dark. I almost took a scuba class once, but found they did practice dives at a local hydro dam because of the vertical depth. I backed out, and the instructor tried to ensure me they were far away from the intake openings and there was no danger. I told him the same county as the dam was too close for me. Underwater caves. They freak me out, and I'm not even a scuba diver. People that do that are literally crazy. I'm not even claustrophobic, it's just so much unknown about what's in there. What if something collapses, or what if you need to get to the surface quickly? Getting lost underwater is absolutely terrifying to me. So I get this. Thanks to a weird news story episode on Animal Planet growing up. I now have a fear that a snake will be hiding in my toilet and bite me. So I always check the toilet bowl to see if a snake is there before sitting down. Getting tipped over in a porta-potty while taking a dump. Caborophobia. Yeah, I am afraid of live crabs. But I love me some crab cakes. Totally reasonable fear. They're basically just big spiders you can't kill with a shoe. My biggest fear, which has grown stronger over the past few years, is veins. Even though they're elastic, I'm terrified of pinching one off or it snapping inside of me. Most people don't believe me, so they flash theirs in my face and I start breaking down. I'd explain more, but I'm having a really hard time thinking about it. Fear of being pregnant. Same. Babies are like aliens to me. Having one inside of me scares me to my core. Same. It's different from just not wanting to get pregnant. Ever since I learned about all the medical procedures and possible complications, I've been pretty dead set against carrying my own child. The recent wave of legislation makes it even worse. One night I was reading horror stories of women who were forced to carry harmful pregnancies to term, and it actually left me sobbing. Going to the bathroom with the shower curtain closed. I'm afraid of someone or something hiding behind the curtain and waiting to attack me while I'm vulnerable on the toilet. I used to think the Jonas Brothers would be behind the curtain. And now I've got a new phobia. What if gravity suddenly stopped working and everything just floated into space? Marionettes. You know, like the classic Thunderbirds? I've never had a bad experience with them. But clapping eyes on one in the wild is an immediate cold sweat and stomach churning. Friend tried to get me to go into a marionette museum with them once, and I had a full-blown panic attack. I wouldn't call it a fear, but flour makes me really cringe. If I'm watching a cooking show and people are touching flour or rubbing it on the table, I have to shut my eyes. If I was making bread or something, I'll touch it, but I'll hate every second of it. Oh, same, I hate it. The feeling of it being all dry on my hands makes me absolutely want to die. Do you feel this way about chalk too? I hate chalk on my hands. Same. Also sand. Sand is horrible. It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. I have this weird fear that every time I go to clear out my body of waste. You know what I mean. I worry that I'm actually asleep and in reality am at work or in public just dumping my load in front of people. So every time I sit down on the toilet I have to pinch myself to ensure I'm awake and conscious. It's definitely the weirdest habit I have, and I have no idea where it stems from. Has that ever happened? Because, strangest thing in the world. I did that one time. Had a dream about desperately needing to pee. Frantically searching for a bathroom. Found one and let it fly. PD in my own bed as a grown man. No idea why. Or why I'm telling this story on myself. After that I was worried about it every night. but got over it after a while. I feel like it could honestly happen to anyone. We all have those dreams that are completely realistic, and it can be difficult to determine if you're conscious or not. There are lots of times your body is trying to talk to you while you're sleeping. There's the classic joke of, "I dreamed I was eating marshmallows and when I woke up my pillow was gone." But in reality your dreams are connected, to some extent, to your reality in a lot of ways. So it's not at all outside of reason that when you have to pee in your dream it's your body letting you know you've got to go IRL. This is like the being naked at work dream, but like round 2.